Welcome to Ink to Gold, a Pages of Possibilities podcast. I'm discussing Steve Black's article, What Should I Write in a Business Journal?
And, right off the bat, I think we need to talk about that feeling of staring at a perfectly blank piece of paper.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, imagine you're sitting there, right? You've been agonizing over a massive business decision for, 3 weeks.
Yeah, just spinning your wheels.
Exactly. Your brain is this continuous, exhausting loop of anxiety, just playing out every possible disaster scenario.
Right, which is completely draining.
But what if interacting with that single blank page could completely resolve a 3-week problem in 10 minutes?
Which sounds like a bold claim, I know.
It does. But look, if you are an entrepreneur, solopreneur, or a business owner listening to us right now, we are stripping away all the inspirational fluff today.
Yeah, no quotes about following your dreams here.
None of that. No manifesting your destiny. We are focusing entirely on the hard, practical mechanics of what you should actually do the moment you open a notebook to run your business better.
And that blank page is intimidating for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Even seasoned professionals who make these high-stakes decisions every single day.
Oh, for sure.
So to ground this practice, we really need to look at the author of the article, Steve Black. Because Steve brings over 40 years of serious entrepreneurial experience to this methodology.
40 years? That's a lot of reps.
Exactly. And his foundational story about starting a journal is, well, it's incredibly revealing. When he first opened his notebook decades ago, he sat there, looked at the perfectly blank paper, and literally wrote the words, I am not sure what to write here.
Just completely honest.
Just stated the obvious physical reality of the moment.
Yeah.
But from that single unpretentious sentence, the dam just broke.
He just got out of his own way.
Right. He started writing about a specific business decision he had been carrying around, completely unresolved, for 3 weeks. And by the time his pen reached the bottom of that very first page, the decision was made.
The clarity was just immediate.
Completely immediate.
And I think that experience really points to Steve's first cardinal rule of business journaling, which is refreshingly simple.
Yeah, you don't need a fancy system.
No, you don't need a complex color coding setup on day one. The rule is simply to write down whatever is taking up space in your head right now.
Literally whatever's in there.
Yeah, like if you are terrified about a Q3 tax bill, you write that down. If you're annoyed that the office coffee machine is broken, write that down.
Because the structure and the complex frameworks, those come later.
Exactly. Over time, the specific types of entries that are most valuable to your business operations will naturally, prove themselves. They earn their place in your daily practice.
But at the starting line, if it's occupying mental real estate, it belongs on the page.
Which leads directly into the most immediate practical application of this whole thing, right? Filtering your cognitive load.
Yes, because operating a business means you're carrying an immense, often invisible burden of nagging thoughts.
Oh, I mean, the mental weight is huge.
It's massive. And Steve advises that you need to actively write down the specific conversations you are avoiding.
The ones you're dreading.
Right. Think about that freelance graphic designer who submitted subpar work last week. You haven't emailed them back because you're just dreading the confrontation.
Yeah, or think about the administrative tasks that feel incredibly urgent, but, when you really force yourself to look at them objectively on paper, they might not actually move the needle for your business at all.
Exactly. But let's look at the mechanics of that avoided conversation for a second.
Okay, yeah.
So I know I need to talk to that graphic designer. I know I'm avoiding it.
Yeah.
But I don't immediately see how just writing, I need to call the designer, actually lowers my stress or solves the problem.
Well, the physical act of writing it down radically changes your relationship to the stressor.
How so?
When these thoughts are just bouncing around in your skull, they act like a background radiation of anxiety, right? They just consume your limited energy.
Oh, yeah. Constantly humming in the background.
Getting them onto paper stops the bouncing. But it also does something much more profound. It forces you to uncover what is actually bothering you.
Ah, right. Because frequently the surface level stressor isn't the root issue at all.
Exactly. You might write down that you're stressed about confronting the designer, but as you write a second sentence, you realize you aren't actually mad at them.
You're frustrated with yourself.
Yes, because you wrote a vague, rushed, creative brief. And you cannot fix the real problem, which is your own delegation process, until you filter out the noise of that interpersonal anxiety.
That makes total sense. Think of your brain like a computer trying to run complex software. That mental dump of all those nagging thoughts, the avoided conversations, the tax
You're
anxieties.
clearing your system's RAM.
Exactly. You are force quitting the 50 background tabs that are silently draining your battery.
I love that analogy.
Doing that clears the RAM, so
Yeah.
your business's central processing unit, your CPU, can actually perform the heavy analytical lifting.
And that heavy lifting is what Steve calls the weekly planning method, right?
Yes. Once you've dumped the clutter, you actually have the computational capacity to plan. But the parameters Steve sets for this weekly planning are incredibly strict.
Really strict. Like, you execute this plan on Sunday evening or Monday morning, but you must do it before you open your email inbox.
Oh, the inbox is a trap.
It is. An inbox is simply a chronological list of other people's priorities for your time.
Wow, that is so true.
If you open it before you plan, your CPU is immediately hijacked, and you spend the rest of the week in a reactive crouch, just responding to whatever emergency landed at the top of the pile.
So before the world starts making demands on your time, you sit down with a journal and you answer one highly constrained question.
Just one.
Right. What is the one thing that would make this week a success?
Notice he does not say 3 things.
No. He doesn't say a top 10 priority list. It is one single thing.
And forcing yourself to adhere to that brutal constraint is the actual work of the practice.
Because once you identify that singular priority, say finishing the prototype for a new product, everything else organizes around it.
Right. You then write down the 2 or 3 actionable tasks that directly serve that one thing.
And crucially, you write down what you need to protect your time against in order to get it done.
Yeah, maybe you need to protect your time against arbitrary internal meetings.
The whole process takes maybe 10 minutes, but it dictates the entire posture of your week. You're entering the week with a deliberate offensive strategy rather than a defensive reactive posture.
But, I mean, business is unpredictable.
Highly unpredictable.
No matter how flawlessly you plan your week on a Sunday night, by Tuesday afternoon, daily operations are going to throw massive roadblocks at you.
Oh, inevitably. You're going to hit significant forks in the road where the path forward is murky.
Which brings us to what Steve identifies as the absolute highest return on investment practice in business journaling.
Real-time decision-making.
Yes. So, let's say it's Tuesday, and you suddenly have to decide whether to stick with your reliable but expensive local supplier or sign a contract with a cheaper, unproven overseas manufacturer.
That's a tough one.
It is. How do you navigate a major operational fork in the road like that on paper?
Well, before you make any move, you open the journal and dismantle the decision methodically.
Okay, so what's the first step?
You write out exactly what you are deciding. Then, you list your realistic options. Next, you interrogate your own logic. What are you assuming to be true about this overseas manufacturer that might actually be false?
Like, are you assuming their shipping times will remain stable?
Exactly. Finally, you write down what your gut is telling you, and you force yourself to articulate why your gut feels that way.
And Skip observes a really fascinating pattern when entrepreneurs run this specific exercise, right?
He does. Consistently, writing a decision down reveals one of 2 realities.
The first reality being that you actually already know exactly what you want to do, but you are simply afraid of the consequences.
Or the hard work required to do it.
Exactly.
Or you face the second reality. You realize you are missing critical pieces of information, and you are genuinely not equipped to make the decision yet.
Right, you realize you don't actually know the tariff implications of the overseas supplier.
Either of those findings is incredibly valuable. I mean, they prevent you from making a rash, ego-driven choice. They save you time, stress, capital.
But there is a mandatory follow-up step here.
Yes.
After you finally pull the trigger and make the decision, you document the path you chose and the specific reasons why.
Like which factors weighed the heaviest? What variables are you still nervous about?
You write it all down, and then you set a calendar reminder to review that specific journal entry in 90 days.
That 90-day review is brilliant. That's where you confront your own hindsight bias.
Oh, it's brutal but necessary.
Yeah.
You are comparing your documented historical beliefs from 3 months ago against the cold, hard reality of today.
Because we all possess a dangerous psychological tendency to rewrite our own history to make ourselves look like, strategic geniuses in hindsight.
Right. If the overseas supplier ends up being a disaster because of customs delays, your brain will try to convince you, oh, I knew that was going to happen all along.
But the journal completely prevents that self-deception. When you read your entry from 90 days ago, you are forced to admit, no, I didn't know that would happen. I was completely confident in their shipping timeline.
And confronting that gap between your past assumptions and current reality is exactly how a business owner recalibrates and improves their judgment over a career.
It really is.
Wait, I have to push back on this on a very practical level, though.
Okay, go for it.
What about the problems that don't even have clear options yet? The really sticky, ambiguous problem.
Oh, the ones that keep you up at night?
Yeah. Let's say I'm an entrepreneur and I'm dealing with a major cash flow bottleneck. I'm already obsessing over this problem all day. I'm thinking about it in the shower. I'm agonizing over it during my commute.
Right.
My brain is fully saturated with the problem. Why do I need to sit down and write it out? Am I not already dedicating enough mental energy to it?
It feels like you are, but thinking about a complex problem in your head is often just an illusion of progress.
An illusion.
Yes. Your mind is incredibly lazy when it comes to holding variables steady. It allows thoughts to circle infinitely without ever demanding a conclusion.
Oh, I see.
Like in the shower, you bounce from the cash flow problem to general anxiety about payroll to a half-baked idea about a flash sale, and then right back to the initial panic. It's a continuous, unresolving loop.
So the physics of the problem just keeps shifting.
Exactly. Writing halts that loop entirely. The mechanics of writing, the literal rules of grammar and syntax demand specificity.
You can't just write a feeling.
Right, you cannot physically write an incomplete abstract feeling of panic. To form a sentence, you must create a subject and a verb. You must force the thought to a definite end.
And that demand for specificity turns an abstract cloud of dread into a concrete puzzle.
It makes it solvable.
So if you were stuck, Steve's method is to state the problem as aggressively specifically as possible.
Yeah.
Then you list out all the solutions you have already attempted. Next, you actively challenge your assumptions by asking, what am I treating as a fixed, unchangeable reality that might actually be flexible?
Give me an example of that.
Well, maybe you're assuming your payment terms with clients have to be 60 days because that's industry standard. But what if you just changed it to 30?
Wow, yeah. And finally, you force yourself to ask, what is the absolute simplest, most unglamorous version of a solution here, even if it feels too obvious to work?
Moving the problem from the echo chamber of your mind onto the physical page strips away the emotional weight and leaves you with the structural mechanics of the issue. You can see the gears.
That's a great way to put it. You can see the gears.
So we've covered how to plan the week before the inbox attacks, and we've navigated the big, high-stakes decisions and the sticky problems.
Right.
Let's zoom in a bit closer to the ground level now. The micro-learning opportunities.
A daily grind.
Yeah. The daily operations of a business are full of vital data points that usually just slip right past us because we're moving way too fast.
Oh, constantly.
And Steve highlights two specific practices for capturing this data: post-meeting reflections and post-project teardowns.
Let's start with the meetings. I mean, your calendar is likely full of them, but how much are you actually learning from your interpersonal interactions?
Probably not much if you're just rushing to the next one.
Exactly. So after any significant conversation, not a routine 5-minute check-in, but a consequential meeting, like a tense negotiation with a vendor or a difficult performance review.
You stop and reflect.
Yes. Take just 5 minutes while the emotional temperature and the details are still fresh. You write down what actually happened. What were the underlying dynamics of the conversation? Where was the friction?
And what could you personally have done better to communicate your point?
Right. And what surprised you about the other person's response?
So let's say a client unexpectedly pushed back hard on your pricing and you immediately caved and offered a discount.
We've all been there.
Oh, yeah. If you don't take those 5 minutes, you just feel a vague sense of defeat and move on.
But if you write it down, you are forced to analyze your own capitulation.
5 minutes seems like a microscopic time investment, but the compound interest on that self-awareness must be massive.
The compound interest is what transforms your career. Because over months and years, those quick 5-minute entries aggregate. They reveal your long-term communication patterns.
You start to see exactly where you are consistently highly effective and where you consistently fall short, get defensive, or concede too quickly.
It turns a crossed-off calendar invite, an event that is over and gone forever, into a permanent, searchable learning asset.
That's powerful, and that micro-practice scales up perfectly to the 15-minute post-project teardown.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine you just finished a massive, grueling 6-month website redesign for a client.
Sounds exhausting.
It was a nightmare of scope creep and missed deadlines. Usually, we just want to take the final check, breathe a sigh of relief, and rush to the next client so we don't fall behind on revenue.
But Steve argues you must sit down first.
Right. You ask, What was the original goal of this redesign? What actually happened during those 6 months? Why do you think it derailed so badly?
And what specific boundaries will you establish differently next time, and what processes should you actually do more of?
Yeah.
But, and this is key, it is vital that you run that exact same rigorous teardown when a project is a massive unqualified success too.
Wait, really? Steve mentions we naturally replay our failures but gloss over our successes. So why is analyzing a success just as strategically vital for a business owner?
Because if you don't know the precise mechanical reasons why something worked, you cannot systematically replicate it.
Ah, I see.
When entrepreneurs succeed but rush immediately to the next task, they're essentially operating under the subconscious assumption that they just got lucky.
Or that success relies on some random magical alignment of market conditions.
Exactly. By writing down the exact mechanics of a win, analyzing it with the same critical eye you apply to a total failure, you extract the active ingredients of your own success.
Like, was the campaign successful because of the amazing copywriting, or did it just happen to launch on a remarkably slow news day where ad costs were incredibly low?
You have to know the difference.
Yeah.
You are building a proprietary playbook from your own wins, not just performing autopsies on your losses.
Okay, so we've spent time on the micro level of daily meetings and weekly planning. Let's take the macro view now. Let's elevate to 30,000 feet.
Good idea.
Because the daily grind forces you to look at the ground directly in front of your feet. How do you ensure that all these daily and weekly tasks are actually moving the entire business in the correct direction over the long haul?
The daily grind is exactly why the quarterly review is non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
4 times a year, you need to carve out 30 to 45 minutes of absolute quiet with your journal. This is a strategic session divided into 2 halves.
Okay, what's the first half?
First, you look backward over the last 3 months. You ask the hard questions. What did I actually accomplish that moved the business forward? What did I commit to doing but completely failed to deliver?
And most importantly, why did I fail to deliver it?
Right. Did you promise yourself you would hire an admin assistant so you could stop doing data entry, but you never got around to actually writing the job description?
Ouch. Looking at a missed commitment on paper is a tough mirror to face.
It is, but it's essential for personal accountability. You also ask, what surprised me this quarter? And what fundamental shifts have occurred in my market or with my customers' behavior?
And then, once you have looked backward and taken your lumps, you pivot to the forward-looking half.
Exactly. You ask, what are the 3 most critical things I absolutely must accomplish in the next 90 days to grow?
And here is where the strategy really crystallizes, right?
Yeah.
You ask, what do I need to stop doing immediately? What do I need to start doing? And what do I need to do differently?
Yes. Forcing yourself to answer those questions every single quarter is the fundamental practice that separates intentional, strategic business building from merely reacting year after year to whatever the market throws at you.
It provides the aerial view that your daily operations actively suppress.
That aerial view provides massive clarity. But stepping back from the daily grind also exposes you to a different kind of problem.
What's that?
An absolute avalanche of new ideas.
Oh, right.
When you are drowning in immediate tasks, your entrepreneurial brain starts doing what it does best, inventing new product lines, conceptualizing entirely new marketing channels, dreaming up sweeping process improvements.
Yeah, your brain is an idea generation machine, but most of those ideas will fade into nothing before you ever have the chance to properly evaluate them.
Which is such a waste.
It is. You need to give them a designated place to land in your journal. This is what Steve calls the reservoir of possibilities.
I love that phrase.
You don't need to write out a full 12-page business plan for every flash of inspiration that hits you while you're walking the dog. Just write down enough context, like a paragraph or 2, so that when you read it later, you actually understand what you meant.
Right. Capture the essence.
Think of the journal as a slow cooker for your business ideas, rather than a microwave.
Oh, that's good.
You don't need to zap the idea, force it to completion, and launch it instantly. You just write enough of the ingredients down so it can simmer in this reservoir.
Let it cook?
Yeah. Months later, you might be flipping through your notebook, and that old half-baked idea will suddenly combine with a newer, fresher insight, and boom, you have something incredibly potent and fully formed, ready to be built.
Because the reservoir of possibilities doesn't demand immediate, stressful action.
Right.
It simply prevents intellectual waste.
Exactly.
Some of those ideas simmering in the slow cooker will be totally irrelevant or clearly terrible by the time you read them again, and that is perfectly fine. You cross them out.
But others will turn out to be the exact missing piece to a strategic puzzle you were trying to solve 6 months down the line. You capture the raw material now so you can mine it later.
So true.
We have covered a massive, comprehensive operational framework today. I mean, we've walked through clearing the mental RAM, filtering the week before the inbox opens, dismantling high-stakes decisions, halting the loop of sticky problems,
Tearing down meetings and projects.
conducting quarterly reviews, and building an idea reservoir.
It's a lot.
It is. If a listener tries to implement all of this tomorrow morning, they are going to feel completely overwhelmed, paralyzed by the system, and they will probably abandon the entire practice by Wednesday.
Almost certainly.
We must distill this down. What is the actionable starting line? What can a business owner do today with a blank piece of paper?
Well, Steve is incredibly emphatic about this point. Do not try to do everything at once. He offers a highly simplified, low-friction entry point for beginners.
Okay, what is it?
You simply sit down with your notebook, you look at the blank page, and you pick just one of these 3 specific questions to answer.
Just what?
Just one. Question 1. What is on my mind about work right now? And you just write whatever surfaces without any filtering, grammar checks, or judgments.
Okay, simple enough.
Or you choose question 2. What happened recently that I should really think through? You pick one single event, a weird client interaction, surprising spike in sales, and you examine it on the page.
And the third option?
Question 3. What is my most important priority this week, and how am I actually progressing against it?
I love how approachable that is.
Right. The goal at the starting line isn't comprehensive, flawless coverage of your entire business operations. The goal is simply to start the engine. You are just beginning to engage in the kind of slow, deliberate, physical thinking that actually moves a business forward.
That is incredibly freeing. You don't need a massive system. You just need to pick one question. To make it even easier, we want to give you Steve's featured journal prompt to take away right now.
Yes, this is the one.
If you do absolutely nothing else after listening today, grab a pen, get a piece of paper, and answer this single question. What has been taking up space in your head about your business that you have not written down yet?
And as you sit down to ponder that prompt, I want to leave you with a final thought to consider about the true long-term value of this practice.
What's that?
If you stick with this over years of applying these methods, documenting your hard decisions, brutally reviewing your quarters, capturing the mechanics of your failures and your successes, your journal undergoes a profound transformation.
It becomes more than just paper.
Exactly. It stops being just a notebook filled with paper and ink. It essentially becomes a silent business partner.
Wow.
It transforms into a perfectly objective, ruthlessly honest board member that remembers every pattern, every blind spot, every excuse, and every brilliant idea you have ever had. It holds you accountable to your own history and your own growth in a way no human colleague ever could.
That's the practice. Try it this week and see what happens. Subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop, and visit pagespossibilities.com for more journaling practices designed for entrepreneurs. Link to the full article is in the description.